All right, so welcome back. Today we cover environment, economy, global diplomacy, security, health, and space. Let's go. So, first of all, we have the topic one, which is heat wave, India's deadliest weather event. Now, why it matters? What it is about. So, as April begins, IMD has issued heat wave alerts for Gujarat, Rajasthan, and central India. India's heat wave seasons are getting longer. 2023 recorded 353 heat wave days. 2024 saw temperatures touch 52 degrees Celsius in Delhi and an estimated 40,000 heat related deaths. Now, IMD declares a heat wave when temperature is at least 40 degrees Celsius in plains and 4.5 degrees Celsius above normal for that area. Now, wet bulb temperature measures both heat and humidity together. It captures what the body actually feels. After the 2010 Ahmedabad heat wave killed 1,300 people, the city built India's and Asia's first heat action plan. Color coded alerts, cooling centers, and ASHA led outreach. Now, heat action plan is city level heat wave response system with color alerts and cooling centers. Wet bulb temperature is combined heat humidity measure reflecting actual physiological stress. Urban areas 2 to 5 degree warmer than rural surroundings due to concrete and reduced greenery. National Disaster Management Authority issues National Heat Action Plan guidelines, green, yellow, orange, red heat alert system based on temperature departure, and National Disaster Response Force is deployed during extreme heat emergencies. Then we have the India GDP slowdown from 8.2% to 6.4%. India's GDP growth has decelerated from 8.2% in fiscal year 24 to an estimated 6.4% for fiscal year 26, confirmed by the NSO's first advance estimates in January 2026. The RBI responded with a 25 basis point repo rate cut to 6.25% in February 2026, signaling concern about the growth momentum. The West Asia oil shock is now compounding the pressure. GFCF, which is the gross fixed capital formation, measures investment in the economy. India's is stuck at 29% of GDP, while East Asian economies at comparable stages ran 35 to 40%. The index of industrial production, released monthly by the MOSPI, tracks manufacturing, mining, and electricity output. The capital goods subcategory, machinery and equipment, is the best real time signal of private investment. When capital goods IIP is weak, it means businesses are not buying new machines. Investment drought confirmed. So India imports 85% of crude oil. Every $10 per barrel price increase widens the current account deficit by roughly 12 to $15 billion. IIP is the index of industrial production, monthly indicator of manufacturing, mining, electricity output. Its base year is 2011 2012. GFCF is the gross fixed capital formation, measures total investment in the economy. NSO or the MOSPI is the National Statistical Office under the Ministry of Statistics. RBI repo rate is the rate at which RBI lends to banks. Current account deficit is the excess of imports over exports in goods, services, and transfers. West Asia oil shock is the crude oil's price surge due to Strait of Hormuz tensions. Direct India macro impact. Then we have the BRICS diplomacy, expansion, and de-dollarization. Now, BRICS, which added Egypt, Ethiopia, Iran, Saudi Arabia, and UAE in January 2024, now has 10 members and represents 35% of the global GDP in PPP terms. Brazil holds the 2025 chair. At the Kazan summit in October 2024, Russia and China pushed for a common BRICS currency. India helped block it while agreeing to explore local currency trade settlements. Now, BRICS is no longer a club of five. It now includes major Gulf oil producers and Africa's two largest economies, with 45% of global population and 35% of GDP. It rivals the G7 in economic weight, but lacks G7's institutional coherence. The new development bank, headquartered in Shanghai, provides infrastructure financing without IMF style conditionalities, no austerity requirements, no governance strings. Russia and China wants BRICS to be an economic NATO of non-aligned states. India rejects this framing. India engages on substance, development finance, climate, WTO reform, while consistently blocking language that frames BRICS as adversarial to the West. NDB is the new development bank, BRICS multilateral lender, $100 billion authorized capital, Shanghai headquarters. CRA is the contingent reverse arrangement, $100 billion BRICS Forex safety net for balance of payment crisis. De-dollarization is the reducing global dependence on US dollar for trade and reserves. Kazan Summit 2024 is the BRICS summit in Russia, first with expanded membership. BRICS partner countries is the new associate category added at Kazan. Then we have the strategic autonomy, which is India's policy of independent foreign policy engagement across multiple platforms. Then we have the left wing extremism decline, 170 districts to under 50. To under 50. India's left wing extremism footprint has shrunk dramatically from over 170 affected districts at the 2010 peak to under 50 today, with annual deaths falling from 1000 to under 150. Security forces under Samadhan strategy and the Cobra DRG combination have reclaimed much of what was called the Red Corridor. The remaining hardcore is concentrated in Chhattisgarh's Bastar region. The CPI Maoist, formed in 2004 by the merger of PWG and MCC, is the India's most dangerous banned terrorist organization under the Unlawful Activities Prevention Act. It seeks to capture state power through protracted guerrilla war using tribal forest area as base. Samadhan is MHA's counter left wing extremism acronym. Smart leadership, aggressive strategy, motivation, action plan, dashboard, harnessing technology, action for tribal welfare, and no access to financing. The key insight: it treats left wing extremism not as a police problem but as a governance failure needing security and development together. Most left wing extremism affected districts are fifth schedule areas, tribal lands with special constitutional protections. PESA gives Gram Sabhas the rights over land and forest. Poor implementation of these two frameworks is the root cause of Maoist exploit. The constitutional solution already exists. Implementation is the gap. Samadhan is MHA's eight component integrated left wing extremism strategy: security plus development plus intelligence. CPI Maoist is the banned Naxal group, formed in 2004, operates in central eastern India. Cobra is the commando battalion for resolute action. Then DRG is the district reserve guard, local tribal recruits with irreplaceable forest knowledge. Fifth schedule is the constitutional protection for tribal scheduled areas. PESA 1996 is the panchayat extension to scheduled areas, tribal self governance in forest villages. Then we have the maternal mortality. India's maternal mortality ratio (MMR) stands at 97 per 1 lakh live births, as per the latest SRS data 2022. The SDG 3 target is 70 by 2030. The national average hides a massive state level gap. Assam is at 195, Kerala is at 19. The Assam's MMR is 10 times Kerala's despite identical national scheme coverage. Same JSY, same JSSK, same funding. Kerala succeeds because of near 100% female literacy, zero child marriage tolerance, and strong panchayat health accountability. Assam's tea garden workers, adolescent pregnancies, and flood disrupted health access explains the gap. Janani Suraksha Yojana, launched 2005 under the NHM, pays 1400 to rural women in low performing states who deliver in a government facility. This conditional cash transfer drove institutional delivery from 39% in 2006 to 89% in 2021, one of India's most successful health behavior changes. NFHS 5 data shows 57% of pregnant Indian women are anemic, a major maternal death risk factor because anemic women survive blood loss poorly during delivery. MMR is the maternal mortality ratio, deaths per 1 lakh live births, measured by SRS. Janani Suraksha Yojana is the 2005 conditional cash transfer for institutional delivery. PMSMA is the Pradhan Mantri Surakshit Matritva Abhiyan, guaranteed antenatal checkups on 9th of each month. Laksh is the Labour Room Quality Improvement Initiative, certification of government delivery rooms. SRS is the sample registration system, primary source for MMR and demographic data in India. And SDG 3 is the Sustainable Development Goal 3, target MMR 70 per 1 lakh, 100,000 by 2030. All right, so next we have the orbital congestion, 27,000 debris objects. Now, low Earth orbit is congesting rapidly. 27,000 tracked debris objects, 9,000 plus active satellites, and SpaceX Starlink alone planning up to 42,000 satellites. In 2023 2024, the International Space Station performed a record 32 debris avoidance maneuvers. Scientists warn that some orbital bands are approaching the tipping point called Kessler syndrome. Now, Kessler syndrome, proposed by NASA's Donald Kessler in 1978, describes a runaway debris cascade. Above a critical density, collisions create more debris than decays, permanently filling an orbital band. Once triggered, no human intervention can stop it. The band becomes unusable for generations. Now this is the worst case scenario for global communications, navigations, and weather satellites. Now, SpaceX Starlink constellation now exceeds 4,000 active satellites in low Earth orbit, more active spacecraft than existed in all of the history before 2020. Now, the FCC has approved plans for up to 42,000. The Outer Space Treaty, 1967, Foundational Space Law, 114 states, parties, says space is the province of all mankind, but has zero provisions for satellite density, deorbit timelines, or debris mitigation. It predates commercial mega constellations by 60 years. India's Netra project tracks space debris nationally. Kessler syndrome is the self sustaining collision cascade in orbit, proposed by NASA's Donald Kessler in 1978. Then you have the low Earth orbit, which is about 200 to 2000 kilometer altitude, most congested orbital band. Outer Space Treaty, 1967. Foundational Space Law, 114 parties, no national appropriation of space. UNOOSA or the COPUOS, which is the UN Office for Outer Space Affairs, or the Committee on Peaceful Uses of Outer Space Governance Forum. Mission Shakti is the India's ASAT test, March 2019, destroyed satellite at low Earth orbit, joined US, Russia, and China. Then we have the Project Netra, which is ISRO's network for space objects tracking and analysis, India's space debris watch program. So that's it for today. April 1, heat waves, growth slowdown, BRICS, left wing extremism, maternal mortality, orbital debris. 6 topics, all relevant. Stay consistent. See you tomorrow.